And I see every single day where I'm not productive, I just see it as a waste of time. I see it as a waste of day. And it's pretty big to think about because we don't have a lot of days on this earth. And especially like if you're lucky, even you get like 80 years on this planet. And that's if you're lucky, right? Some people just don't get that long. And as I feel like that's also one of the reasons why we have to be grateful because some people just die way earlier than the average like lifespan, which of course 80 years old. Even I think it's like 75, 80 years old, but it's increasing because like technology is increasing as well as like we're getting more like medical technology and stuff. So people are like living way longer, which is great. But if you're still lucky, people still get sick and die of like a pretty very young age. If you're still like lucky and you get like the 80 years, wasting a day, my friend, because your time is limited on this planet. And this is not coming from a religious perspective because I'm not religious, but your time on this planet is very limited. And if you're wasted doing nothing but just, you can say, bad habits, you've wasted a day. You've wasted a day. But let me clarify what I mean by bad habits. What do I mean by that? What is my definition of bad habits? When I'm talking about bad habits, I'm talking about habits that really like feel good in the moment, but when you finish them, you just feel way worse than when you actually started, right? Those are the bad habits. Those are the habits that I'm talking about here. So like it's like the structure where you basically it's like you pursue this irrational good. And we all know from the quote that I've made for myself is in the pursuit of the rational good, one has to sacrifice the irrational good. And the same goes for the other way around. It's like the inverse of the quote, which is in the pursuit of the irrational good, one has to sacrifice the rational good. Right? They both work at you can say both ends because in the pursuit of something great, in the pursuit of your rational good, which is like the virtues, your moral compass, you can say, like the things that you really think are good, you have to sacrifice the things that are not good, like the irrational good, right? But in the pursuit of the irrational good, the things that are not good, you have to sacrifice also something, which is the good, the rational good, right? And I feel like when we're talking about bad habits, I feel like you're chasing the irrational good, you're chasing the dopaminergic pleasures that only feel good in a moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. Once again, this is not a video where I basically come in front of a camera where I basically talk about like moral virtue and stuff. This is not a moral video. This is not a video of between like good and bad because who am I to decide, right? I'm just saying my own perspective to the story and hopefully I can learn something from it because this video is for myself. If I don't spend the day productive, if I don't do something intellectual, if I do something physical, like my day is done. Like intellectual can of course vary from different domains. Like for example, studying for an exam, like for university and stuff. It can also be journaling. It can also be like reading a book that has nothing to do with academics. It can be recording a video. It's also intellectual. It can be like editing a video. It can be like learning to program, learning to code, learning website design, whatever it may be. It's just all intellectual work, and it's very different than from physical work because with physical work, I'm preparing for a half a marathon that is basically just running, and I see that as physical work. I used to go to the gym, I still go to the gym, but I'm not as much as like I run because I'm preparing for the half marathon. But you need those two things in order to I need those two things in order to be as productive as possible on a daily basis. I cannot have just one. I cannot only focus on the intellect when my physique is lacking. When I have a very like you can say weak physique, I may then be like very strong intellectually, but I just feel like not a complete whole human being. I feel like you need both sides of the spectrum. You need the very like fast intellectual mind, very strong, fast intellectual mind, but you also need a strong body because without a strong body, you don't have the you just cannot sustain a very fast, strong intellectual mind. But without the intellectual mind, you cannot have the body. It's like you need both. They're just like both existing, like synergizing together in one form where you just become a beast, you can say, in every single thing that you do. And of course, there's always things to improve, and you're not perfect. You will always fall off. But even towards, you can say, the striving towards perfection, that is where I find peace. Even though I know I will never be perfect because I'm a human being, and I will never be perfect. I will never achieve. There's always one more step to go beyond. Like if you achieve like the half marathon, for example, because I'm running for it, but if you achieve the half marathon, it's it's nothing because in the back of your mind, you always have more things to chase. It's like it's never-ending cycle of development where there's nothing wrong with that because I feel like we live in a society that is like very, especially like in the Western countries, we live in a society that's like capitalistic and stuff, and like it needs money, so it needs growth. It needs growth once again, growth, growth, growth. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not against it, nor am I for it. I'm just saying what's true for myself. And what is true for myself is that there is always something to go beyond. There's always one more thing to chase. There's always one more thing to strive towards. There's always one more thing to get. And that is why you will never be perfect. Even if you achieve the things that you want, there was always some tiny imperfection in your path towards the thing that you wanted to achieve. So you will never be perfect. You will not be the second coming of Christ. Of course not. But what is my point? My point is, even I know that I will not be perfect, but striving towards doing everything perfectly is where I find my peace, right? And by striving towards doing everything perfectly, you can say that is where I'm the most productive. That is where I genuinely blossom in productivity. And I feel like we as human beings, talking to myself, of course, we need to be as productive as possible because what else are you going to do? That's a very good question that you need to think about. What else are you going to do? If you're not productive, then what else are you going to do? You can say, okay, I'm going to enjoy myself, but what does that mean? I'm going to go out and socialize, but that's productive as well because you're enhancing your social skills. You're learning to talk to people. You're making connections, networking, whatever. But when I'm talking about things that are not productive, the bad habits, I'm talking about smoking weed. I've never done that. Never smoked in my life. But smoking, watching porn, staying in bed, doom scrolling, whatever. Just everything that is hindering your mental capacity in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And this is not about the results. This is not about achieving the fucking thing. It was never about that. It was never about the result that you wanted to achieve. It was about the process, the hero's journey that it took to achieve that thing. Because you first started as a nobody, maybe, and then you achieve this thing. Maybe you're still a nobody, or maybe you're somebody. It doesn't really matter, but you achieve the thing. And in the process of that journey, you can say that is where you find your peace because it was never about the reward. It was never about the fucking trophy. It was never about 10K a month. It was never about any of that. It was about the journey that it took because you can look back and you can find peace with yourself because you say to yourself, and this is where self love comes from, okay, I've started from nothing and look where I'm at right now. And you can find peace there because you've been through this entire journey trying to find yourself. And maybe you find it, maybe you don't, but still, you went through the journey. You can find peace even in the journey itself. But somewhere along the line, my friend, you fall off, right? It's the 12th of October. Tomorrow is going to be the 13th of October, which basically means the exams are coming up, right? You've prepared for this moment. How long? Almost a year. 11 months. 10 to 11 months, yes. For these times, you've prepared mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically for these times. But yet, when life grabs you and it holds you very tight and you're in a very stressful situation, you fold. You give up. You fall back into old patterns of behavior. You relapse. You think this is too hard. I'm gonna indulge myself into momentarily dopaminergic pleasurable things when in reality those are the things that are destroying you. But you don't know it because you think the pain of the fear of chasing the thing is greater than the pain that you will experience in the moment when you've done the bad habit. When in reality it's exactly the opposite. The pain that you feel after you've done the bad habit is way, way worse than the thing that you're fearing. And the funny thing is, you've never feared anything, you only fear yourself. So when you go into something that you fear, you will realize that you were playing games all along with yourself because you don't fear that thing, you fear a part of yourself. You've never feared anything externally. Of course, we can go into the maximum of things and look at it from a very big perspective and say, yeah, but I fear lions, because they're very dangerous and they come close to me and they can eat me. Yeah, of course. There are, you can say, limitations to these things, but when I'm talking about the mental realm, the non-physical realm, you can say, every single fear that you have is just you're being afraid of yourself. That's it. There is no outside fear that is stopping you from taking action towards that particular direction. It's you stopping you from taking action to that particular direction. Why do I say this? What's the function of me saying this? Is that you're about to go on a 7th week of university, right? It's not just about university, right? Life in general. What happens is that you start to have a goal, right? You start to have a vision. I want to do something. I want to do this. I want to move towards the path. There's a quote from Rumi, and it says that walk the path and the path walks on you. Something along the lines. Very beautiful, which basically means that you set out a path. So I'm gonna walk on this path. I'm gonna do every single thing in my power to walk on this path. And you do. You walk on a path. And what happens is when you walk on a path, the path reveals itself to you. It reveals the pathways. It reveals the different pathways. It reveals the side missions, whatever, because you're walking on a path, right? You cannot plan everything ahead, right? But when you walk the path will show itself to you what you need to know at that specific moment in time. Well, what happens with you, because I've been observing myself for 5 years now on a you can say daily basis, and I observe my thoughts, my mind very often, and I think to myself, okay, you walk on this path, but the problem is you get distracted and you forget the goal why you started to walk on the path in the first place. And that is where the bad habits come into place. It's not that you want to do the bad habits. You've never wanted to do the bad habits because we as human beings don't want to do things, from my own perspective, seen that will hurt us. You will always move away from the thing that hurts you, and you will always move towards the thing that will help you, right? We can always look at this like, okay, well, what about like David Goggins and running? Because David Goggins hate running, but he still is running. Yeah, because he gets a reward. He gets a reward out of the running itself. You're not gonna run when you know that if you run, you're gonna get a heart failure in the midst of the running itself. You're not gonna do that because it will hurt you in the process. But when you know if I'm gonna go for a run, I will feel way better at the end of it. I like will become way leaner. I will just become a different human being, a better human being, a more capable human being. I will become a stronger version of myself. That is when you will do it because that will benefit you, not even in the short term, but also in the long term, right? But when you walk along this path, there are so many distractions right now in today's world. And I'm a victim of this. I'm not saying that I'm once again a second coming of Christ. I'm not, right? I fall victim to this on a daily basis, you can say, because there are so many distractions on a daily basis that it's just so hard to focus and to keep yourself on a path because the thing that is destroying you, you don't know it. It's like it's working in the silence, but it's slowly destroying you from the inside, but you just don't know it because it's unconscious. It's deeply delved into your subconscious mind, which is why you don't know it. It's like these unconscious patterns of behavior that you do on a daily basis. Like I've never wanted to do that, but I still did it. Why? Because you're like your driving engine is from this unconscious state of being. It's not from you itself. So when you walk on this path, there are so many like sideways that you can walk on. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I can do this, but if I do that, then maybe this happens. But if that happens, then I cannot do this. There are so many things in your mind that you relapse on whatever relapse may be for you. It's very funny, man. It's genuinely very funny when you think about it because there is no external thing making you do the things that you do. You do it to yourself. And when you're walking on this path, what will happen is one of the other things that will happen is you will get bored. You will get bored. You say, you know what? Where are the results, man? I've been walking on this path for years, bro. Am I actually walking on a good path? Am I walking on the right path? Am I walking on the moral, virtuous path? Am I walking on a path to enlightenment, you can say? But you don't know the answer because you cannot look beyond the present moment. Everything is the now. So you don't know what the future might hold for you. So you don't know the answer. So you start panicking. Oh my God, is this the right path that I've walked on? But you don't once again know that. So what then tends to happen is you start to get bored. You don't see any results. Every single day it's the same, and you start, well, why am I doing this shit? That is what happened to you. You started to get bored. You started to consume content, and every single time you come home from work and you're very tired, and well, it's just a stressful day at work, and you don't have a lot of food in your stomach, you still need to cook. So many things are inside of my mind. So what do? You try to numb the pain down by consuming content, by going on YouTube and watching another self-improvement video, which is not going to do any shit for you. There's a reason, once again, why it's called self-improvement. It's about you. It's not about the other person that you're watching the video on. That is when you consume the content. When you, for example, once again, come home from work and you're very tired, don't want to do shit. You still have to take a shower. Maybe you still have to go for a run. You still have to cook. You still have to do the dishes. You still have to do so many things. But the funny thing is that if you solely, without music, without any podcast, without anything, if you solely focus on doing those things, you will get them finished within like an hour and a half. But you're not realizing that, like, because your mind is so fatigued, you just cannot look beyond the present moment, which in itself sometimes is a good thing to do because you can know, for example, that it takes an hour and a half to finish those things that you have to do, but you don't realize that because it feels painful to do that. So what you do is you go on the YouTube section and you just scroll on YouTube or on Instagram or on TikTok, whatever. You doom scroll, or you try to reduce the stress by smoking. Even though I've never smoked, I'm not going to do that in the future. But there are so many distractions. Because there are so many distractions, you will fall back into old patterns of behavior. But what can we learn from this, right? I've been talking for now 21 minutes actually. But what can we learn from this hindrance? Even though it's not a hindrance, it's just what you define it to be. What can we learn from this? Listen, my friend, tomorrow is Monday, right? After this video, go on Remarkable, go on Google Calendar, write some goals down that you want to achieve for tomorrow. Like the things that you have to do tomorrow. Write down some goals for the upcoming week. Write down your log for week 6 of the university because it's finished. We're going into the 7th week. Build up yourself again. Failure, once again, my friend, is a part of the process. You would not know, because of the law of polarity, you would not know what good is if you've never experienced the bad, and you don't know what the bad is if you've never experienced the good. You need both sides of the spectrum. You need the success, but you also need the failure. You need both things simultaneously. They're existing simultaneously, you can say, but because you have time and third dimensions and stuff. I'm not going to get into metaphysics, but in order to have success, you need failure. In order to have failure, you need success. So what that basically means is that in order to walk the path that you're walking on, and you did very great because you've done this for such a long time, is to set some failures on the path, but whatever is on the path becomes the path, which basically means that if this was what was on the path, if this was meant to happen and stuff, and we can try to sit here and mental masturbate why I did it and every single like the strategies that I'm going to implement in order to not do that again, but it's not going to help you because you're still in that, you can say, vibrational state of being of I failed, when in reality you did not fail, you just learned another lesson which is essential for your journey ahead. This failure, my friend, you have to look at it from this perspective because you can change the perspective. Nothing in this life has meaning. You are the one that gives life meaning. Everything is neutral. So if everything is neutral, why not give it a positive definition when all you give it is a negative definition? Why not look at it from a positive perspective? Why not look at this failure and say, you know what? Yeah, I did not really do great today, but I'm going to come back stronger. I'm going to go for a run tomorrow, 5 kilometers. And hopefully if I wake up tomorrow, because I know some people did not wake up. So I'm grateful to even be able to have woken up today and to be able to even make this video, to be able to have my health, to be able to have clean water, to have food in my refrigerator. I'm glad that I have a roof above my head. I'm glad that I have my bed. I'm glad that I'm so grateful that I have all of these things. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up. I'm gonna feel energized again because it's a brand new week. I know my goals, I know my vision, I know what I have to do, I know my mission. I'm gonna go for a run, 5 kilometers. I'm gonna go to university. I'm gonna crush every single course that I get there, and I'm gonna come back home tomorrow. I've got like a dinner with like some colleagues and stuff. So I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna socialize. I'm gonna talk to as many people as I can. Maybe widen my network, whatever. Why not look at it from that and instead of saying, yeah, you know what, tomorrow's another day. I don't really want to work out, man. I mean, today was such a painful day, man. I don't really feel. No, what are you doing? Like, genuinely, why would you look at life from that such a depressing state of view, you can say? Because it is what that is. It's just very weak. It's looking at it like you're the victim. When in reality, you are not the victim. You were never the victim, and you will never be the victim. You just are in a very wrong state of mind. You can also look at it and say, you know what? Like I said, tomorrow's going to be a perfect day. Tomorrow, even though I'm going to make mistakes on a daily basis, I'm a human. I admit that. I'm not perfect. I don't know the answers, but still, I'm striving towards becoming better. And I know that striving towards, in the pursuit of the rational good, I know that I have to sacrifice the irrational good. So that basically means that even in even on walking on this path, I know that I will fail. I know that I will make mistakes, but yet I keep going. I keep moving forward because that is what it takes. Even though I failed miserably today, but I still show up tomorrow because that is just who I am. Even though I did not achieve the thing that I wanted to achieve today, I still gonna show up tomorrow because I said that I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna do that. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. 7 weeks ago, I made a promise to myself: I'm gonna run every single Monday. Tomorrow's a Monday. I have to run, so I'm gonna go for a run. Why? Because I promised myself to do that. I promised myself that I was going for a run, and that's what I did, and that's what I'm going to do. It is this drive, my friend. It is this change from perspective that will help you walk on the path that you want to walk on. It's not about failure, my friend. The failure, once again, you need to go through the failure. It's not Failure does not define you, and it will never define you. You may get into a very fear state of being where you freeze a little bit and you don't know what to do, but that's not the point. The point is observing yourself from a larger perspective and seeing, okay, this fear that I'm having right now, how can I use this fear to my benefit? How can I look at this from the how can I look at this negative perspective and turn it into a positive one? Because at the end of the day, everything is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed; it can only be transmuted. So why not transmute this negative energy into a positive one? You have the power to do that. That's what I literally showed you. Why not wake up tomorrow with a smile on your face because God has chosen you to wake up? God could have also chosen to let you die in your sleep, but He still chose to wake you up. And you still have a family, hopefully. You still have like your siblings, you still have your close friends. The world is not over. Everybody's like outside. You can socialize, you can go to the university, you can still run. Life is not over because of your failure. Look at it from that perspective, my friend. Look at it from a positive perspective. Look at it from, okay, this has happened. I'm grateful actually that it happened. I'm very glad that it happened because it taught me an important lesson that I needed to learn on this journey and then move forward from there. You cannot live life without failing. It's just impossible. You just cannot do that. And basically that's what I wanted to say in this video. When you're alive, you're still in the game, and because you're still in the game, you can still win the game. So let's fucking go, man.